Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The first time I held my son, I felt an overwhelming rush of emotions, joy, pride, and an inexplicable fear. Luke was beautiful, with his tiny fingers grasping mine, but the shock of his vibrant red hair sent a chill down my spine. Neither Jane nor I had red hair, nor did our parents. It didn't make sense. "Isn't he perfect, Tom?" Jane's voice was filled with the kind of happiness I hadn't seen in months. She looked exhausted yet radiant, her eyes shimmering with tears of joy. "Yeah, perfect," I muttered, trying to force a smile. I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. "Your grandmother had red hair, right?" I asked later, once we were home and Luke was asleep in his crib. I tried to sound casual, but the question hung heavy in the air. Jane's smile faltered for a moment. "Yes, she did. It's probably from her. Genetics can be funny like that." I nodded, but my mind was already racing. Jane had never mentioned a red-haired grandmother before. The seeds of doubt had been planted, and they were growing fast. Days turned into weeks, and the unease gnawed at me. Luke's hair was a constant reminder of the uncertainty I felt. One evening, after putting Luke to bed, I confronted Jane again. "Are you sure about your grandmother?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. Jane looked at me, her eyes narrowing. "Why do you keep asking about this, Tom? He's our son. Why does it matter?" I shrugged, feeling the distance between us widen. "I just want to be sure, that's all." Weeks later, I made a decision. I swabbed Luke's mouth while Jane was out and sent the sample off for a paternity test. The guilt gnawed at me, but the need for the truth was stronger. The results arrived in an innocuous-looking envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it, and my heart sank as I read the words, "Probability of paternity, 0%. I felt a surge of emotions, betrayal, anger, confusion. I needed answers. Confronting Jane was my next step, but I needed to be calm, calculated. I needed a plan. I spent the next few days gathering information. Jane's recent behavior, her new friends, the nights she claimed to be working late. It all started to fit together. One night, when Jane came home late, I was ready. "Jane, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady. She looked at me, surprised. "What's going on?" I held up the paternity test results. "Explain this." Her face went pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Finally, she whispered, "Tom, I can explain." "Then explain," I snapped, my patience wearing thin. She broke down, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Tom. It happened once, I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely, you were always working, and I made a mistake." I felt a cold fury settle over me. "A mistake? That's our son you're talking about. You cheated on me, and you lied about it." "I'm sorry," she repeated, but her words felt hollow. "I need some time to think," I said, my voice cold. "We'll talk about this later." I left the house, my mind racing. I needed a plan, a way to make her feel the betrayal I felt. And I knew exactly how to do it. The next few days were a blur. I contacted a lawyer, gathered evidence, and made arrangements. I kept my distance from Jane, my heart hardening with each passing day. Finally, the day came. I confronted Jane one last time. "I've spoken to a lawyer," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "I'm filing for divorce." She looked at me, her eyes wide with shock. "Tom, please, don't do this. We can work through this." "No, we can't," I replied. "You betrayed me, and there's no coming back from that." I walked out of the house, feeling a strange sense of relief. The chapter of my life with Jane was over, but the story was far from finished. I had a plan, a way to teach her a lesson she wouldn't forget. And as I drove away, I felt a grim satisfaction settle over me. The real story was just beginning. I wake up the next morning with a mix of determination and dread. The plan I've devised to get back at Jane feels both liberating and vengeful. I need to see it through, but first, I need allies. My best friend Mark is the first person that comes to mind. Mark has always been there for me, through thick and thin, and I know I can count on him now. Hey, Mark, can we meet up? I need to talk to you about something important, I say over the phone, trying to keep my voice steady. Sure thing, Tom. How about we meet at Joe's Cafe in an hour, he replies, his tone filled with concern. An hour later, I find myself seated across from Mark, the hum of the cafe creating a comforting background noise. He looks at me with a mix of curiosity and worry. So, what's going on, Tom? Mark asks, leaning forward. I take a deep breath and tell him everything, the paternity test, Jane's betrayal, my decision to get a divorce. His eyes widen as he listens, and by the time I'm finished, his expression is a mix of shock and anger. Man, I can't believe she did that to you. What's your plan now? Mark asks, his voice low. I need to make sure she understands the gravity of what she's done. I have a plan, but I need your help, I reply, looking him in the eye. Whatever you need, I'm here for you, Mark says without hesitation. We spend the next hour discussing the details. I outline my plan to expose Jane's infidelity to our friends and family, to ensure she faces the consequences of her actions. Mark agrees to help me gather the evidence and spread the word. As we finalize the details, I feel a sense of grim satisfaction. Over the next few days, I reach out to a few more friends, people I know I can trust. One by one, I tell them the story, showing them the paternity test results and sharing my plan. Most are shocked, but they all agree to help. The circle of trust grows, and with it, my resolve. One evening, as I'm going through some old photos, I come across a picture of Jane and me on our wedding day. We look so happy, so in love. I feel a pang of sadness, but it quickly turns into determination. This isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming my life and making sure Jane understands the pain she's caused. The next step is confronting Jane's lover. I've managed to find out who he is, a coworker of hers named Kevin. I arrange to meet him at a bar downtown, under the pretense of discussing a business opportunity. When he arrives, I see the surprise on his face when he recognizes me. Tom. What's this about? Kevin asks, trying to mask his unease. Sit down, Kevin. We need to talk, I say, my voice cold. He hesitates but eventually sits across from me. I pull out the paternity test results and slide them across the table. You've been sleeping with my wife, I state bluntly. Kevin's face pales. I didn't know she was married, he stammers. Save it, I snap. You knew exactly what you were doing. Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell everyone at your office about your affair with Jane. If you don't, I'll make sure everyone finds out anyway. He looks at me, fear and guilt etched on his face. All right, I'll do it. Just, please, don't ruin my life. Consider this a warning, Kevin. Stay away from my family, I say, standing up and leaving him to his guilt. The final part of my plan is the most difficult. I need to confront Jane one last time, in front of our closest friends and family. I arrange a gathering at our house, inviting everyone who matters to us. Jane is unaware of the real reason for the gathering, thinking it's just a regular get-together. As people start arriving, I feel a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Mark is there, along with a few other close friends who know the plan. Jane greets everyone with her usual charm, but I can see the confusion in her eyes when she looks at me. Tom, what's going on? Why did you invite everyone here? She asks quietly. You'll see, I reply, my voice steady. Once everyone has arrived, I clear my throat and call for attention. Jane looks at me, her confusion turning to apprehension. Thank you all for coming, I begin. I have something important to share with you all. I take a deep breath and pull out the paternity test results. I recently discovered that Luke is not my biological son, I say, my voice unwavering. Gasps of shock ripple through the room. I continue, Jane has been unfaithful to me, and I have proof. I show the results to everyone, the room falling into a stunned silence. Jane's face crumples as she realizes the gravity of the situation. Tom, please, don't do this, she pleads, tears streaming down her face. This is not just about me, Jane. It's about the truth, I say, my voice firm. I turn to our friends and family. I wanted you all to know the truth. Jane has betrayed me, and I'm filing for divorce. The room is filled with murmurs of shock and disbelief. Jane collapses into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. I feel a strange sense of relief as I walk out of the room, knowing that the truth is finally out. As I step outside, I take a deep breath, feeling the weight lift off my shoulders. The battle is far from over, but I know I've taken the first step towards reclaiming my life. The real story is just beginning, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. The cold air bites at my face as I step out into the night. The murmurs and whispers of my friends and family fade into the background, replaced by the hum of the city. I walk aimlessly for a while, letting the night envelop me, trying to process everything that's happened. My phone buzzes in my pocket, breaking my reverie. It's Mark. Tom, where are you? Are you okay? His voice is filled with concern. I'm fine, Mark. Just needed some air. I'll be back soon, I reply, trying to sound more composed than I feel. All right. Just let me know if you need anything, he says, his worry evident. I hang up and continue walking, my thoughts racing. Exposing Jane's betrayal was just the beginning. There's still so much more to do, so much more to uncover. I need to stay focused. When I finally return home, the house is quiet. Most of our guests have left, and those who remain are in hushed conversations. Mark is waiting for me by the door, his expression unreadable. How are you holding up? He asks, his voice low. I'm all right. Thanks for having my back tonight, I reply, offering him a small smile. Always, man. You know that, he says, clapping me on the shoulder. Jane is in the living room, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She looks up as I enter, her face a mixture of anger and desperation. Tom, how could you do this to me? To us? She cries, standing up to face me. How could I? How could you, Jane? You lied to me, betrayed me, and expected me to just accept it. I retort, my anger flaring. I made a mistake, Tom. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, she pleads, her voice breaking. It's too late for apologies, Jane. I'm done, I say, my voice cold. The next few days are a whirlwind of legal meetings and packing up my things. I move into a small apartment downtown, needing space and time to think. Mark and a few other friends help me get settled, their support a lifeline in this turbulent time. One evening, as I'm unpacking boxes, there's a knock at the door. I open it to find Emily, an old friend I haven't seen in years. She looks at me with sympathy and concern. Tom, I heard about everything. I'm so sorry, she says, stepping inside. Thanks, Emily. It's been a rough time, I admit, leading her to the small living room. I can't believe Jane would do something like that. You two always seemed so happy, she says, shaking her head. We were, at least I thought we were. But people change, I guess, I reply, trying to keep my emotions in check. I'm here for you, Tom. If you need anything, just let me know, she says, offering me a comforting smile. Thanks, Emily. That means a lot, I say, feeling a flicker of warmth amidst the cold reality of my situation. As the days pass, I throw myself into work and rebuilding my life. The divorce proceedings are in full swing, and each meeting with the lawyer brings new challenges. Jane is fighting for custody of Luke, and it's a bitter battle. Despite everything, I still love that little boy and want to be part of his life. One afternoon, I get a call from my lawyer, Samantha. She's a sharp, no-nonsense woman who's been a godsend throughout this process. "Tom, I have some news. Jane's lawyer is pushing for full custody, but we have a strong case. However, we need more evidence of her infidelity to strengthen our position," she says, her voice brisk. "I'll see what I can do," I reply, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I start digging into Jane's past, looking for any signs of infidelity that I might have missed. I reach out to old friends, colleagues, anyone who might have information. It's a tedious and emotionally draining process, but I'm determined to fight for Luke. One evening, as I'm sifting through old emails and messages, I come across something interesting. An email from Jane to Kevin, sent months before Luke was born. The tone is flirtatious, the content suggestive. My heart races as I read through it, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. I forward the email to Samantha, my hands trembling. It's not much, but it's a start. The next day, she calls me with a plan. "This email is good, but we need more. I want you to meet with Kevin again, see if you can get him to admit to the affair on record," she says. I feel a surge of anger at the thought of facing Kevin again, but I know she's right. If I want any chance of winning this custody battle, I need to confront him. I arrange another meeting with Kevin, this time at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of town. He looks nervous as he sits down across from me, his eyes darting around the room. "Kevin, we need to talk," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "What do you want, Tom?" "I already told you I'm sorry," he replies, his voice shaky. "I need you to admit to the affair. On record. It's the only way I can fight for custody of Luke," I say, my gaze unwavering. He looks at me, his face pale. "You're asking a lot, Tom. If I admit to this, I could lose my job, my reputation." "You should have thought about that before you slept with my wife," I snap, my patience wearing thin. He sighs, running a hand through his hair. "All right, I'll do it. Just, make sure this doesn't ruin my life completely." "I'll do what I can," I reply, feeling a small sense of victory. We arrange for a meeting with Samantha to record Kevin's statement. As I leave the cafe, I feel a renewed sense of purpose. This fight isn't over, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes to protect Luke. The next few weeks are a blur of meetings, court dates, and emotional highs and lows. Jane's anger is palpable, but I refuse to back down. With Kevin's recorded statement and the emails, our case is strong. Finally, the day of the custody hearing arrives. I sit in the courtroom, my heart pounding, as the judge reviews the evidence. Jane's lawyer argues passionately, but Samantha is relentless, presenting our case with precision and clarity. After what feels like an eternity, the judge finally speaks. Based on the evidence presented, I grant joint custody to Mr. Thomas Williams and Ms. Jane Williams. Both parents will share responsibility for the child's upbringing. I feel a wave of relief wash over me. It's not a complete victory, but it's enough. I can still be a part of Luke's life. As I leave the courtroom, Jane approaches me, her expression a mix of anger and resignation. "This isn't over, Tom. I'll fight you every step of the way," she says, her voice cold. "I'll be ready," I reply, meeting her gaze. The battle is far from over, but for the first time in months, I feel a glimmer of hope. I have my friends, my son, and my resolve. And as I walk out into the sunlight, I know that I'm ready for whatever comes next. The days following the custody hearing are filled with a tense routine. Luke spends his time between Jane and me, and although the arrangement is far from ideal, I relish every moment with my son. Despite the turmoil, those precious hours with him give me a sense of normalcy and purpose. One evening, as Luke sleeps peacefully in his crib, my phone buzzes with a message from Samantha, my lawyer. "Tom, there's something you need to see. Can you come by my office tomorrow?" Curiosity and a touch of anxiety gnaw at me. I reply affirmatively and try to rest, but my mind races with possibilities. What could be so urgent? The next morning, I arrive at Samantha's office. She greets me with a serious expression, motioning for me to sit down. "Tom, I've been doing some digging, and I found something you need to know," she says, sliding a folder across the table. I open the folder to find a series of emails and messages, but these aren't between Jane and Kevin. Instead, they're from a man named David, someone I've never heard of before. "Who is this?" I ask, confusion etched on my face. Samantha leans forward. "David is an old friend of Jane's from college. It turns out he reconnected with her about a year before Luke was born. Their correspondence is revealing." I sift through the emails, my heart sinking with each word. The messages are intimate, filled with secrets and confessions. It's clear that Jane had an emotional affair with David, which turned physical just before she became pregnant with Luke. "I can't believe this," I whisper, the weight of the betrayal hitting me anew. Samantha's gaze is steady. "Tom, there's more. I had a private investigator look into David. He lives in the next city over and has been visiting Jane regularly." The room spins, and I grip the edge of the desk. All this time, I thought Kevin was the only one. Now, there's another man, another layer of deception. The anger and hatred I thought I'd managed to contain surge back with a vengeance. "I need to confront her," I say, standing abruptly. "Tom, wait," Samantha cautions. "Think this through. This is a delicate situation." But I'm already out the door, my mind set. The drive to Jane's house is a blur. I arrive to find her in the kitchen, preparing dinner. She looks up, surprised to see me. "Tom, what are you doing here?" "It's not your day with Luke," she says, her voice cautious. "We need to talk," I say, my tone cold. Her eyes narrow. "What is it now?" I pull out the emails and throw them on the table. "Explain these." She pales as she glances at the documents. "Where did you get these?" "That doesn't matter," I snap. "Who is David?" Her silence speaks volumes. Finally, she sighs and sits down. "David is an old friend. We reconnected before Luke was born." "So you were cheating on me with him too?" I ask, my voice rising with each word. "It wasn't like that," she protests. "We had a connection, something I felt was missing with you. I was lonely, Tom. You were always working, always distant. That doesn't justify your actions." I shout, unable to contain my fury. "You lied to me, over and over again." "I never meant to hurt you," she whispers, tears streaming down her face. "Well, you did. And now it's over. I want you out of my life for good," I say, my voice breaking. As I turn to leave, I hear a soft cry from the next room. "Luke." The sound tugs at my heart, but my resolve is firm. I can't stay here any longer. "Tom, please," Jane calls after me. "Don't do this to Luke. He needs both of us." I stop, taking a deep breath. "I'll fight for full custody. I won't let you use him as an excuse to keep me tied to you." I walk out, the door slamming behind me. The next few weeks are a whirlwind of legal battles and emotional turmoil. Samantha works tirelessly to build our case, and the evidence against Jane mounts. The court finally rules in my favor, granting me full custody of Luke. On the day Jane moves out of our house, she tries one last time to reach out to me. "Tom, I'm sorry for everything. I never wanted it to end like this." I look at her, the woman I once loved, and feel nothing but a cold emptiness. It's too late for apologies, Jane. We're done. As she drives away, I feel a strange sense of relief. The deception is finally over, and I can start to rebuild my life without the shadow of her betrayal hanging over me. Months pass, and Luke and I settle into a new routine. The wounds of the past slowly begin to heal, though the scars remain. I focus on being the best father I can be, determined to give my son the love and stability he deserves. One evening, as I tuck Luke into bed, he looks up at me with his big, innocent eyes. "Daddy, will Mommy ever come back?" I smile sadly and stroke his red hair. "Mommy loves you very much, Luke. But sometimes, grown-ups need to live apart to be happy." "Okay, Daddy," he says, snuggling into his blanket. As I close the door to his room, I feel a sense of closure. The past is behind me, and the future, though uncertain, is mine to shape. I've learned a hard lesson about trust and betrayal, but I'm stronger for it. And as I look at my son, I know that no matter what, I have him. And that's enough. The story of Jane and me is over, but the story of Luke and me is just beginning. And this time, I'm determined to write it right.